when a promising straight-A Florida student vanishes.
I'm not a monster. It had nothing to do with her disappearance.
Chaos erupts, leaving this community in shock and searching for answers.
Do I think my husband is capable of any of this? No, I don't. But we have a missing piece of the puzzle.
This is the story of the tragic disappearance of 16-year-old Iyana Sawyer, a bright and beautiful young girl who seemingly vanishes without a trace. As her heartbroken family and law enforcement scramble to piece this puzzle together, what unfolds is a dark, twisted web of secrets and deceit, challenging investigators at every turn. Welcome to Next on the Docket, where we deep dive into the most gripping and unforgettable true crime cases from across the nation.
Jacksonville 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Did not come home from school today, so phone is going straight to Brooklyn. It's not like her. Okay. You have no idea what she is.
December 19th, 2018 started out a normal day. IS was a 16-year-old high school student, a sophomore, straight-A student at Terry Parker High School here in Jacksonville, Florida. She also went to school with her sister, SS, who was a year younger in her 9th grade year.
Her sister was on the bus and she wasn't. I don't understand why she wasn't on the bus.
Did you ask your sister why?
She said she didn't know, and that's not like her. That's not like them to be together.
When SS calls her mother frantically, stating that IS did not get on the bus, Kimberly Mobley was at work. So she called two of her sisters. One of the sisters called 911 while the other one headed to Terry Parker High School.
Do you think it's foul play?
Ma'am, I have no idea. This is out of character for her.
Okay.
And for me to call you all, something's wrong.
Her family went crazy. They called 911, they called everyone. It was mass chaos because she just disappeared in thin air.
So IS, she was the firstborn. She was extremely close to her mom. She was extremely loyal. She loved being with her family. She wanted to be either a doctor or a lawyer. She was into her scholastics, being the straight-A student. However, sadly, at the age of 16, she was carrying a big secret, and that secret was she was pregnant.
Iyana was 5 months pregnant, a tender revelation she had only recently shared with those closest to her. Although the news was unexpected, her family embraced her, even naming the unborn child Hazel Michelle.
IS did not attend her last 2 periods of school. Video surveillance showed that she did in fact leave Terry Parker High School at approximately 11 a.m. And we don't know who picked her up because that was outside of camera footage at the time. She has 2 bags. One is full, of course, regular school items such as textbooks, notebooks, and then another bag has a voluminous amount of Victoria's Secret items, a body pillow. The family is left questioning, where is IS?
Our theory of the case is she either ran away and didn't want to be found, or she ran away because her mom wanted to know who the father of the child was. She didn't want to tell, and that led to friction between the two.
The police, they were just trying to do what they could to find her. They did some basic search around the area. They set up the tip line. The family was doing quite a bit. They were looking for anything.
After an intense 48-hour search with no trace of Iyana, authorities officially shifted her status from runaway to missing person. And then her mother uncovered something deeply disturbing that would change everything.
Her mom was searching through, her room, through her laptop, through her boxes in her closet, anything she could to determine where she may be. She finds this Word document on Iyana's laptop that kind of seems strange.
So, how do you get to it? Tell me how do you get to it?
I went there in the recycler bin right here.
The recycle bin?
And then she also got other notes over here on the side. If they asked you for a password, she got some of the notes locked. And she got other stuff that she wrote in here about him too, though.
Iyana's intense efforts to keep the documents hidden are just as disturbing as the information they contained.
It was a couple pages long, and it was a pouring out her heart of this person, Jose, her love for this person, the betrayal of this person.
Iyana's mom was puzzled by the name Jose, a name she'd never heard before. Could it be code for someone else? Had Iyana run off with this person? The entries were from February and March of 2018, nearly a year before she disappeared. Around that time, Iyana was 15 and in a physical relationship with an adult neighbor, one her mother strongly disapproved of.
There was a next door neighbor who lived across the street from Iyana. He had had a sexual relationship with Iyana, and his name was Kamar Humphrey. I mean, the person that was accused of sexually assaulting her, 9 months earlier is very much someone who I would be looking into very deeply when she goes missing.
Authorities had legitimate reasons to be concerned about Humphrey. In March 2018, with the consent of her mother, they obtained a DNA sample from an R kit. Humphrey admitted to having sex with Iyana on at least one occasion. The DNA test was confirmation.
Under Florida law, he was listed as a sexual offender because he was over the age of 18 and she was under the age of 16.
The time period that the rape kit was done, that we can confirm there was a sexual relationship, is outside of the time period that she would have conceived. But we have always asked, did that relationship continue on? And we know it went on for months just based on the conversations that she had with friends. He's a viable suspect for the father of her child.
Police questioned Humphrey about where he was on the day Iyana disappeared. When he provided solid evidence proving he was out of town, investigators had no choice but to eliminate him as a suspect. But if Humphrey isn't the mysterious Jose, then who is? That's when a new name surfaced, Jonathan Quilles.
She confronts Iyana's sister, and Iyana's sister's the one who says, oh, that's Jose is Uncle John. So Iyana was John's niece by marriage. He was Uncle John to Iyana and to the other siblings as well. They were very close. His wife and him both took care of the kids on a regular basis. They would spend time at their house. John, really charismatic guy. He's very likable. He was a mechanic. He was a handyman. He had a good family life, was working, doing well, married, had a kid, another one on the way at the time.
Iyana's mother was well aware of how close her daughter was with Uncle John, also known as Jonathan Quilles. But if he's the Jose mentioned in Iyana's diary, could their relationship have crossed a line? Determined to uncover the truth, Iyana's mom contacted the police, who promptly headed to Quilles' house to investigate.
This is crazy.
All this just got dropped on me. Like,
both of us. I was just trying to get a damn guy to sign a lease over there, and I'm coming back. I see patrol cars in my dang house.
He arrived while they were there. He was calm, cool, and collective. I'm here to help.
We literally had their kids, her kids, for summers. Summer at a time, and then, weekends. All of them. If we knew where she was at, we would have been the first ones to grab her ass and bring her over.
Yeah, exactly.
We're posting stuff on our Facebook trying to find her the same way they are.
He did not know anything. He didn't have any involvement. Even his wife, was defending him and that he would never do anything to harm IS.
Police advised the couple of a warrant to search their home.
I'll hang out here. They'll go in and look.
Okay, that's cool.
And then we'll go from there. So you guys hang tight for me?
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Right back.
Naomi and John say, hey, search our house, do what you need to do, look through, because, she's not here. We have nothing to do with it.
You got all the rooms?
Yeah.
Okay. So
The backyard.
yeah, let's look at the back. Let's look at the backyard? That's right. Sure.
Even one of the officers found it kind of funny because Jonathan's sitting there. He's like, hey, come on in, whatever you guys need. You want something to eat? You want something to drink? And he's inviting him in like he's one of the family.
However, both Quillis and his wife acknowledged that Iyana's mother had expressed concern about John's interactions with her daughter after discovering the troubling documents on her laptop.
Once that all happened, we got blocked completely from having any communication.
But then the girl said, well, we can't speak with you now because we blocked. Mama said to block you, so we got to wait until this passes over. Okay. So, I mean, the same, but it's not like, it's not uncommon.
Yeah, this has happened before, and then they come and they'll stay, weekends over here at the house.
The situation is more complex than anyone could have imagined. Then, the couple makes another statement that catches officers off guard, adding yet another twist.
So while talking about, well, do you know any items that are missing of IS's? Well, the wife had stated when she left, she took a lot of her Victoria's Secret undergarments.
John gets more specific.
Oh yeah, her 38 pair, indicating that she had taken 38 pairs of Victoria's Secret undergarments with her. How someone in a family relationship would know that is obviously very odd.
This was yet another red flag for investigators.
She said that she knows who the father was, but she ain't saying.
Oh, she did know?
Yeah, she knows who the father of the child was. So she did. But then you can't really take anything that she's saying serious because now that she's been gone, I question literally everything.
Police there wanting to talk to John about, have you had a sexual relationship with Iyana? And so it's just, they were investigating him, at least trying to find out.
On December 27th, 2018, just a week after Iyana vanished, the stakes couldn't have been higher. The fact that she was pregnant only deepened the urgency to find her. Police brought her Uncle John in for questioning. During the tense interview, detectives pressed him about the disturbing entries in Iyana's diary, entries that hinted at a sexual relationship between them. John firmly denied any inappropriate contact, and he willingly provided his DNA.
Looking at the wrong person. I have nothing to do with that girl disappearing whatsoever.
Don't arrest him that day. They detain him, they talk to him, but then they release him.
Despite John's cooperation, his actions had raised enough red flags that just days later, the case was handed over to homicide detective Abbott. He processed the DNA immediately.
It was submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement here, and a rush was put onto it because what we had learned was that a sexual assault kit involving IS had been submitted back in March of 2018, and there was unknown DNA.
The results revealed DNA from neighbor Kamar Humphrey, which was expected given his past relationship with Iyana. But what raised alarm was the presence of an unidentified DNA sample. Could this be linked to her Uncle John? Listen to what happened next.
Jonathan Quillis' DNA was on IS's panties. Complete, utter shock. It only heightened that Jonathan Quillis was definitely a person of interest. Then a bombshell hit. A phone call comes in to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. That individual identified himself as Joseph Quillis, Jonathan Quillis' brother. And oh boy, did he have a story to tell. Jonathan Quillis had called his brother. He stated it was either December 19th, 2018 or December 20th, 2018. That his brother was frantic, stating that this girl might be pregnant, it might be mine, and I have to get rid of the body. Joseph Quillis then stated his brother hung up the phone. However, sometime later he called back, calmer, not upset, not nervous, said he had taken care of it. Jonathan Quillis tells his brother that he lured her to his work in an area where no video surveillance, no other workers, it's loud, and he went to strangle her, but he couldn't stomach it, so he shot her. He then put her body in a dumpster, and then it's done. He now can move on, and his life won't be ruined.
His brother was like, I don't believe my brother did this, but it made me feel very uneasy that if I didn't call and report it and something had happened, that it would haunt him.
With this startling new evidence in hand, Detective Abbott, joined by a colleague from the Special Assault Unit, brought Quillis back in for a second round of questioning.
There's been a lot happened. We need to talk about, okay?
At this time, Detective Billy Abbott has spoken to Joseph Quillis, and now he is looking at this closer to a homicide investigation.
The girls would come over to your house and you do like trips to the beach.
Yeah,
trips to the
we always when to go with the pool we had the pool we had at the house.
They would stay the night. They'd spend
Yeah,
time
they'll
at
spend
your house. And there was
the whole
anybody,
summer.
So you're doing all these things with the girls,
No, with all of them.
right? With the kids.
All of the kids.
But,
yeah,
But then they're accusing you of messing with the girls.
correct. Yeah, and this is they came out with that. They started like real heavy with it when went with that boy across the street and doing all that. That's when it started like really thick.
Jonathan Quillis was trying to do anything and everything to show how it was not him, that it could be this other individual, or she might have had another boyfriend in her life.
So now is missing. She ran away or whatnot. Now here I am sitting in the hot seat because is mentioning me as that I'm Mr. Jose.
Okay.
So
Do you know who she ran away with?
I don't. I've been expecting call me, text me, anything. Snapchat me, smoke signal.
Quillis painted himself as the victim himself. He's being unfairly tarnished by this belief he had an inappropriate relationship with his niece.
So if I were to tell you that I found some underwear that had your DNA in it, how would you explain that?
I would say there's no way in shape in any form.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way.
So with the case across the street, there was a kit done.
Correct.
And she was wearing specific clothes to include underwear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she told me that was one of her biggest pet peeves, that they took underwear from her.
Okay. So that's what he's talking
That's
about.
what I was referring to.
That wasn't my DNA. That I didn't.
100%.
No way.
It's DNA. Yeah.
I'm not saying you're a monster. I don't think you're a monster at all. Okay? I think maybe they came on to you and things went a little too far. It happens all the time.
What exactly are they accusing me of? What exactly are they saying I did? Okay, well, now they're making suggestions that I'm having the sexual relationship or that I had something to do with her going missing, and I absolutely did not.
Look at her face.
I could look at her face.
They need closure.
I'm not a monster. I have nothing to do with her disappearance. I have nothing to do with her disappearance at all.
So the whole family's off. Is a liar. Your brother who loves you is just crazy. Right? Everyone's just circling Jonathan.
The last I spoke with my brother, he was all bent out of shape. And I'm like, hold on, bro. You got this all twisted. I didn't do nothing. I have no idea what the hell happened with this young lady. Any of that. So
Then how did he have all those details?
I don't know how he had all those details. I'm sorry. I don't know how he had any of those details.
And he said he didn't believe you at first. He thought you were kidding. But it was so detailed.
No. I'm sorry. Nope.
He really is just kind of like, you know what? There's nothing I can do at this point. You've already made up your minds. You haven't looked anywhere else. I'm not the person, but you're convinced that I am.
So, Jonathan, is there anything else you'd like to say?
There's nothing else I'd like to say.
Okay. Then at this point, I'm going to place you under arrest for sexual battery. It's a first-degree felony. So if you'll stand up and turn around and face the wall, place your hands behind your back.
Now, Jonathan Quillis is the #1 suspect in the disappearance of IS and now the murder of IS and her unborn child. Detective Abbott, through his partners and his homicide team, they were able to get into contact with some other inmates. One of the inmates then was wired up, and through the instructions that Detective Abbott and his homicide team had given this inmate was, see what Jonathan Quillis will tell you.
Just 2 days later, the detective's plan seems to pay off. You did good by doing it, getting rid of the body and all that.
Why would they point the finger at you? Because of my brother.
So why did you kill her though? If you didn't think she was gonna jail, or you just felt like it was gonna hit the fan and later on.
Yeah, she was 16 when she came out that she was pregnant. There's a possibility that was mine.
When Jonathan starts talking, he doesn't know how to stop, and he just keeps going. His biggest flaw is he's a chatterbox.
When you saw that, where happened to him?
It was over at the job. It was loud over there.
Oh, you shot at the job and left there overnight?
It was loud at the job over there.
This girl would have jumped out, screamed, anything.
So what about the cameras?
The camera system. It's like everything is blurry, nothing is focused. And that's the thing, the cameras do work, but they suspect. You know, in A speaker part, there's so many spots you could throw over the gate.
I guess by you killing her, you did the right thing, because you probably be in a worse situation than she was living.
The challenge with Jailhouse Snitches is that you could have some doubts, well, he's just bragging in prison because he wants to have some street cred there. But his words are his words, and when you compare that to his own brother's comments and Miss Sawyer's younger sister's words that Jose was Jonathan, now the evidence is really starting to pile up.
After Detective Abbott reviews this audio recording, the determination was, I gotta get to Ace Pickle part. I gotta make sure that we get that video surveillance.
Ace, pick apart, you pull it. The auto salvage yard where Jonathan Quillis worked may hold crucial answers. Surveillance footage from December 19th, the day Iyana vanished, could either confirm or contradict John's story.
Video showed that Mr. Quillis left his work around the time when the niece went missing from school. So he could have left from work to go pick up Miss Sawyer, but there's no clear-cut evidence of that because he had an alternate explanation. He was leaving for work purposes. It was his lunch break. And there is no specific video that shows Mr. Quillis with Miss Sawyer around that time.
Jonathan said that he was asked to go up to Fastenal, up near the airport, to pick up some parts. If he went and picked up IS, how could he be all the way up near the airport, which is over 30 minutes away? He can't be over at Terry Parker High School picking her up.
Authorities allege Quillis did, in fact, pick Iyana up that day and then drove her to a secluded, camera-free area at work. There, he allegedly shot Iyana. Investigators pieced together what happened next through jailhouse wiretaps. Police later discovered John's signature on the shooting range sign-in sheet, along with the gun hidden in his closet. Key pieces of evidence tying him to the crime.
Maybe he thought some forensic evidence could show that the gun had been recently shot.
If that was John's plan, it appeared to have worked.
There's no blood evidence, there's no DNA, there's nothing on your gun. And it's alleged that he shot her at close range, like in the heart even. The physical evidence didn't line up with what we were expecting to see.
Investigators scoured every vehicle in the yard but found no sign of Iyana.
So what police had was a theory that he shot Miss Sawyer and then dumped her body in a dumpster that was quickly removed. But there was a lack of physical evidence here.
Detective Abbott learns on December 20th, 2018, All American Garbage picks up the container. It went to Otis Road landfill. So Detective Abbott then makes contact with the Otis Road landfill.
The sheriff's office spent over $1.5 million over 3 weeks to go through and excavate this landfill. It was almost 80 feet deep. The tons and tons of trash that was moved, even by their own account, was monumental in nature. And they found nothing over a 3-week period of time.
They couldn't find anything that directly tied Mr. Quillis to Miss Sawyer's disappearance. They found some articles of clothing that they thought were Miss Sawyer's, but the sizes were a little different. It was some Victoria's Secret clothing, and it could have been her clothing, especially as she was carrying a baby.
However, Iyana's sister identified Uncle John as being Jose.
You also have Mr. Quillis's own brother saying that Quillis confessed to him.
And thinking about, well, what kind of charges are we going to do? Well, ultimately, it was decided that we were going to do first-degree murder. And the reasons why we were going to do those particular charges, and also in the state of Florida, we can do that for an unborn child. So we knew there was going to be 2 counts for that.
We met with the grand jury today on your case as well as several others, and you are being indicted on first-degree murder. The 3rd count is going to be sexual battery. Okay? We need to advise you of that.
Okay. Considering the charges that he was facing, he had good spirits. He was pretty confident in how he spoke and very clear, concise. We talked about a lot of the alternative explanations or alternative options, alternative suspects.
Jonathan Quillis's trial begins on September 14th, 2023. He pleads not guilty to all 3 charges. Iyana's body has never been found.
If you're found guilty of any one of those charges, there is the possibility that you can spend the rest of your natural born life in prison. Do you understand that? I do.
Once they heard everything, that puzzle was built, that picture was painted, that they would know beyond every reasonable doubt that the defendant, Jonathan Quillis, killed his family member because he could not let the world know that he fathered an underage juvenile child.
They have to prove that Mr. Quillis is the one that committed this crime. There will be no direct evidence to say that he did. You will not hear it.
Investigating and looking through the evidence that the state had gathered, the glaring issue again and again was the lack of physical evidence that they had.
There will be no DNA to say he's the father. They will not be able to prove that Jonathan Quillis is in fact the father of the unborn child. They don't have a body. Therefore, we believe they cannot meet their burden of premeditated murder. And therefore, we believe there will be reasonable doubt.
The biggest challenge for prosecutors is that we're living in a time when people expect to see DNA, direct evidence via video, and if you don't have a body, you don't have a murder weapon, and your case is largely circumstantial, it's tough to convince juries that you should send this person to jail for life or even the death penalty.
The state of Florida is relying on key witnesses, Jonathan's alleged confession to his brother and the jailhouse informant's testimony. Naomi, Iyana's aunt, and John's now ex-wife, testified that she initially defended him when her sister raised concerns. However, after seeing Snapchat messages between the two, her stance shifted.
I told him at that time that he needed to stop speaking with my nieces and he needs to give my family space. I said that it looks really bad and he needs to distance himself.
Did you learn thereafter whether or not he stopped speaking and or communicating?
I learned after that he did in fact continue speaking with them.
Next, Jonathan's brother Joseph took the stand, and full of emotion, he revealed that Jonathan had confessed to him, leaving the courtroom in utter shock.
I was more concerned about what is he going to do with the young lady in question, that she might be pregnant, and what is he going to do? He doesn't want to ruin his family and mess up what he has already going on.
In his disgusting confession, Jonathan admitted to his brother that he lured Iyana to the secluded area by giving her false hope that they would run away and be together forever.
He had her sitting in a vehicle, waiting. He tried to strangle her. It didn't work out. He couldn't stomach it. And so then he later shot her in the chest. And then he proceeded to discard the body by transporting it into a dumpster and destroying the vehicle.
Next, the jury heard yet another unbelievable confession brought in through jailhouse snitches. And guess where Jonathan met them? Ironically, Bible study.
They pulled his gun out and shot him.
What, if anything, did he tell you with what he did with her once he shot her?
Once he shot her, he threw her body in the dumpster.
You shot her, how you killed her? You don't mind me asking, I'm just blunt.
Yeah, I know.
I know you don't really want to talk about it. It's all going to be able to get rid of the body.
See, I dump garbage over at the landfill. It would be buried under like 3 feet of garbage.
You could watch the jurors' reaction of Jonathan on that wire and what he said and how he said it. You could literally watch the jurors change the entire demeanor of how they felt about the case. 8 out of the 12 jurors, almost in unison, turned their heads, looked right at us, and you could just read the look on their faces like, you're done.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Verdict count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Verdict count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of engaging in an act that constitutes sexual battery.
If he hadn't started talking, if he hadn't done that, there was more than enough reasonable doubt if his own words hadn't walked them through it for the state.
After almost 5 years of living and breathing IS's case, getting to know IS, seeing IS's picture every day in my office, the best words ever were heard: guilty.
Jonathan was found guilty of murder in the first degree. Next would be the penalty phase, where the jury would determine if he would be sentenced to death.
Each of you know the horrendous facts that occurred in this case. Each of you did justice when you convicted the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt of premeditated murder of IS and the premeditated murder of IS's unborn child.
State of Florida did hope that they would come back and recommend death.
The defense was hoping for a different outcome.
There's something there that would make you all come back and say life without the possibility of parole is appropriate. We were able to put on witnesses, his family, a psychologist that evaluated him, to humanize him, really, at the end of the day, to make it so that you could understand that this is a life worth saving.
The jury was unanimous yet again.
We, the jury, find Jonathan Cuellar should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Ultimately, we were just beyond ecstatic that they had found guilty verdicts.
When they came back for life, that was the biggest sigh of relief. I really felt like at that point, that was the best thing that we could do for him.
State of Florida, on behalf of IS, her unborn child, and the family, felt that justice had been served, the truth had been sought, and it had been seen and shown.
Iyana was full of life and wanted to do so many things. She wanted to be a pediatrician. I thought about being a lawyer. She was everything you could ask for in a daughter.
It was a case that was beyond different than anything I had experienced as a prosecutor. You get to know IS through her death. You get to know her unborn child. You get to know her family. She is a part of me.
Jonathan Cuellar was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences with a 20-year mandatory minimum. Though her life was tragically cut short, we will always remember Iyana Sawyer. To her grieving family and friends, we pray that you have found some justice in knowing that Jonathan will never walk free in this lifetime. Iyana's legacy will forever be remembered.
Until we meet again, I love you forever.
Remembering Iyana Sawyer. Rest in peace, baby girl.